Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call today's May 13 regular county council meeting to order. We'll start with the, pardon me, the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge Athabasca County is located on First Nations Treaty 6 and Treaty 8 traditional territory. We respect and honor all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples' connection to these lands, their history, language, and culture. I'd also like just to take a quick moment to mention that on behalf of Athabasca County Council, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to all those who answered the call last week to battle what seemed like an insurmountable wildfire south of the village of Boyle. From the front lines to behind the scenes, through the evacuations and the reentry to the demobilization, you all showed our communities what success looks like when everyone works together as one team. To our regional fire chiefs and all the firefighters, many municipal neighbors and provincial supports, volunteers, FCSS, community transportation, private contractors, the Village of Boyle CAO and administration, Athabasca County Administration, Public Works, our CAO and DEM Bob Beck, all those who evacuated, and so many more people, too numerous to mention. You all know who you are. Every one of you are heroes. We cannot thank you enough. And with that, we will go to the approval of the agenda, and I'll just ask if there are any additions or deletions prior to us going through which items we'll be discussing. Go ahead, Councillor Hall.
Because we just received this email this morning, I am wondering if council would be willing to split 13.6 into a part A and a part B. Part B to be the inclusion of the email we received this morning regarding some agreements that are being worked on.
Okay, I think that that's a fair request, and I don't believe we need to split the question on that one. If everyone's
Not split the question, split the item into two.
Yes, I'm looking for any opposition and don't feel that there is any, so thank you. We will add that to our closed session items. Alrighty, if there's no further additions or deletions. Okay, what we will do is we will go around the room as per procedural bylaw, and we will check with councillors to decide which items they would like to discuss. From my list, we will be discussing 2.1, 3.1, 5.1, 5.2, 7.2, 8.4, 9.1, all of items 13. So that's 13.1, 13.2, 13.3, 13.4, 13.5, 13.6 A and B, and 13.7. Does anyone else have any other items they would like to add to the list to discuss? Go ahead, Councillor Wallach.
I'd like to add 11 AD, the Healthcare Recruitment Committee.
11 AD. So that's 11.1 AD. Anybody else? Councillor Hall?
I'd like to add 11.1 V. And I think I heard you only say 7.2, but we have to discuss both 7.1 and 7.2, I believe, on bylaws. And I'd also like to add 4.1.
We can definitely discuss 7.1. It is just a recommendation, not a reading, but we can add that to the list. And you mentioned 11.1 E is an echo.
No. V is in Victor.
Thank you. 11.1 V.
And 4.1.
And 4.1. Alrighty. I would also like to add actually 11.1 I. And Councillor Anderson, did you have?
Sorry, 7.1 and 7.2 are both on the list now.
7.1, 7.2, yep. And I'll run through these again. Everybody else?
Can I add
Good.
6.1 as well? Can I add 6.1 as well?
6.1, yep. Absolutely. Alrighty, how are we looking, I think? All right, we'll run through these one more time. We're going to be discussing 2.1, 3.1, 4.1, 5.1, 5.2, 6.1, 7.1, 7.2, 8.4, 9.1, 11.1 I, 11.1V as in Victor, and 11.1AD, as well as all of 13, which is 13.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13.6A and B, and 13.7. If that's satisfactory for everyone, may I receive a motion? Counselor Chamzik, thank you. Would like to approve the agenda as amended. We're all ready for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. So that would be 7-0. Thank you so much. And at this time, I would like to recess our. Do we need a motion to recess the meeting?
Yep,
Yes,
I'll
no,
do the motion.
okay, that's good enough. Then we will move to our public hearing, which is item 3.1, bylaw 007/2025. And we will begin. I declare the public hearing open. I'm Tracy Holland, the Reeve for Athabasca County, and I will be the chair of the hearing. On behalf of council, I would like to welcome you here today. All of council is present, and I would like to take a moment for introductions. So on my right. I'm sorry.
Just a note, all of council is not present.
Thank you. You're correct. We are missing 2 council members. Councillor Kaptanik will be a late arrival, and Councillor Cromwell is not in attendance at this time. Thank you for the clarification. We can continue with
Okay.
introductions, please. Thank
Good
you.
morning, Rob Mintz, Division 8, Baptist Lake Island Lake area.
Good morning, Joe Gerlach, Division 1.
Please. Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you.
Camille Wallach, Division 9.
Kelly Chomsik, Division 7.
Ashton Anderson, I reside in Division 3.
Go ahead, Councillor Hall.
Brian Hall, I reside in Division 4.
Thank you. And I am Tracy Holland, Councillor of Division 5. And we will continue with, we have Jordan Schenkelberg here with our communications manager, our secretary, recording secretary, Miss Leah Blair. We have our CAO, Mr. Bob Beck, and Mrs. Cloutier here, land management specialist. We have Crystal Director Wilkinson, pardon me, with community and protective services. Got her. Thank you. And are you speaking today?
Speaking, I'm Michael Gabriel, the landowner of item 3.1 in question today.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Any other persons who have joined the meeting in person or via Zoom and wish to be heard? You gave your name in full, should you choose to speak. I'm going to ask maybe so that Councillor Hall, being he's on Zoom, if you wouldn't mind coming to the microphone to introduce yourself, please. Thank you. Go ahead and introduce yourself into the microphone so that our Councillor Hall can hear you.
Oh, okay. My name is Michael Gabriel. I'm the landowner of the item in question for 3.1 on the agenda, landowner in the Caslin North Buck Lake area.
Perfect. Thank you so very much for that. The public hearing for bylaw 007/2025 is now open, and I'll turn it over to our secretary.
The purpose of this public hearing is for Athabasca Council of the County to hear testimony from interested parties. It is not meant to be a debate between presenters, and all comments must be directed to council through the chairperson. Only one person may speak at a time, and each person wishing to provide input to council will have the opportunity to do so. The ground rules of the hearing and the order of speaking will be Land Management Specialist Diane Cloutier will speak first to outline the background and provide an explanation of the bylaw. Members of the public who are wishing to be heard will be given the opportunity to speak. Ms. Cloutier will be given the opportunity to present closing remarks or address any of the issues presented. Councillors will be given the opportunity to ask questions. Council will then end the public hearing and will later consider the information received at the public hearing. Council will only consider matters raised at the hearing. Only councillors may ask questions of speakers during the hearing. If any persons want to ask questions of a speaker, they must ask the chair to ask the question on their behalf during the presentation, and the chair will only ask the question if the chair wishes to have an answer in order to undertake its consideration.
Thank you. Before hearing from the public, I would ask Ms. Cloutier to provide background and explanation of the proposed bylaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The purpose of bylaw 007-2025 is to close a portion of undeveloped road allowance that is no longer required for use by the traveling public. The undeveloped road allowance is located between Southeast 2865-17 west of the Fourth and Northeast 2165-17 west of the Fourth, which is on the southeast side of North Buck Lake. During the initial referral for this file, letters were mailed to affected agencies and adjacent landowners within 100 meters of the undeveloped road allowance. First reading was granted to bylaw 007-2025 during the April 8th regular council meeting, and adjacent landowners within that 100-meter buffer were mailed notification letters of this public hearing on April 21st. Advertisement was placed in the Town and Country This Week newspaper on April 29th and on May 6th. And in addition, notice was placed on the county's website, which provided information regarding the public hearing for bylaw 007-2025. The proposed road closure will not affect access to neighboring properties, as access is achieved from Range Road 173.3 to the west and Township Road 654 to the south. The area of road allowance will be closed for public travel. However, the land ownership will remain in the county's name and leased to the landowner of Southwest 765-17 west of the Fourth for the purpose of providing private access.
Thank you very much. Does council have any questions or points of clarification they wish to ask Ms. Cloutier? Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. In the admin report for this item in our agendas, administration referenced policy 3519. And policy 3519 states, following passing of the bylaw, a survey for consolidation into the applicant's property title must be completed. And I just want to confirm that we are not actually following the policy. We're just closing the road allowance, correct? Like, we're not planning on consolidating the title?
Correct, through the chair. We will follow the process of road closure in policy 3519. But instead of closing the road and consolidating, we will close the road. That area of land will have its own title, and that title will then be leased to the applicant if it passes.
Thank you very much. Any follow-up? You're good? All right. Is there anyone else who may have questions of Ms. Cloutier? Awesome. Okay, thank you. Are there any written materials that have been submitted?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So part of our referrals, we mail out to the affected agencies in the area, and that was sent on March 11th. And we received the following. Lac-La-Biche Natural Gas Co-op did not have any concerns. ATCO Electric had no concerns, as this area was not within their service area. Alberta Forestry and Parks had no concerns and found the road closure proposal to be acceptable. Fed Gas had no concerns, as this area was within the Lac-La-Biche District Natural Gas Co-op franchise area, and the Lac-La-Biche District Natural Gas Co-op had no concerns. Alta Link had no concerns. TELUS Communications had no concerns. Fortis Alberta had no concerns, and Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors were provided an opportunity to speak through the RPath porthole, and they responded back with no concerns on the proposal.
Thank you very much. I will now call upon persons wishing to speak. We have one more attendee coming in through Zoom. And I believe that's Councillor Cromwell. Welcome, Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you.
We are just in the process of our public hearing, and I'm at the point now that I'll be calling upon persons wishing to speak. All righty. With no one wishing to speak, does council have any questions or points of clarification? Okay. Is there anyone else who has not spoken and wishes to speak? Does council have any questions or points of clarification? At this time, does council have any additional questions of any speaker or of the staff? Alrighty, does anyone feel that they have not been fairly heard? There being no further testimony, I will close the public hearing. I further advise council cannot receive any further information on this matter. Thank you for attending the public hearing. I declare the public hearing closed at 9:45. All right, thank you very much. We would like to, we'll take a 3 or 4 minute recess if I may, please. And then that way we can say goodbye. Thank you. Alrighty. Thanks for everybody. Welcome back. We are at the stage of our agenda 4.1, which is the approval of the minutes. And the item 4.1 regular county council meeting, I believe, was raised by Councillor Hall. Is there something you'd like to mention?
Thank you. As you know, I've previously spoken about some concerns about how we get to results, not actually the results. And because the procedural bylaw is silent on this question, 19.2 of the bylaw basically tells us that in all cases not provided, we'd follow Roberts. And my, I guess, concern comes that Roberts tells us that once a main motion has been brought before an assembly, there are 3 basic steps. Members debate a motion, the chair puts the question, the chair announces the results. And so I'd like to move that council note in the minutes that council was not permitted to discuss resolution 25-228 before the question was called.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Alrighty. If there's no further discussion on that request,
Let's make it a recorded vote.
and we would like a recorded vote on that. Is there a motion? I guess this is, we'll discuss the amendment to the
And
minutes.
then subject to that, I'd be happy to move the minutes as amended.
Okay, so on the amendment, CC2, I'm sorry, I didn't write it down. I'm trying to find it here. Third reading. I guess the amendment would be that you would like to add the words that
Just
council,
to note in the minutes that council was not permitted to discuss resolution CC 25-228 before the vote on the motion.
okay? Does everybody get that amendment?
I've forwarded in writing to administration.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. All right. So does everybody understand the amendment that's been requested? I'm assuming that's a yes. Go ahead.
I think we were able to discuss that motion over in the third reading. We discussed that so many times that I don't think it was not, or that it wasn't able to be discussed. It was discussed over and over and over and over for the last 8 months. And I disagree with putting that in the minutes. We were able to discuss that so many times. I don't think there was anything coming forward that would have changed anything about the vote. So yeah, I will be voting against that.
Thank you. I don't recall a point of order at that time either. Is there anyone else who would like to weigh in? Councillor Wall?
I guess it doesn't matter if the information is to change the vote, but we should all have a chance to speak, and I did raise my hand prior to the call. So that's why.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there any further discussion?
I would just add that whether we discussed it the day before, the month before, the week before, the reality of the moment was after the results of the amendment were announced, we went immediately to putting the main motion on the floor and then calling the vote. There was no space in between for debate. And so that's really the question, not whether we discussed it for the last 8 months or 2 months or whatever. At the time the main motion was put on the floor, there was no space to discuss it before the vote was called. That's the reality if you listen to the transcript.
Thank you. I will disagree and therefore not support the amendment, but if there's no further discussion, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor of the amendment to note that council was not able to discuss CC 25228.
Aye.
So that is Councillor Wallach, Councillor Anderson, and I'm sorry, on the screen, who is voting for the amendment?
Aye.
Councillor Hall. And Councillor Cromwell, is that you as well?
I'm voting opposed.
Opposed. So we have Councillor Wallach, Councillor Anderson, Councillor Hall voting in favor. All those opposed?
I,
Councillor
Cromwell, opposed.
Councillor Cromwell, Councillor Gerlach, Councillor Mins, Councillor Holland, and Councillor Chamzik. That amendment fails. Is there a motion to move the minutes as presented? Councillor Gerlach would like to move the minutes as presented.
Point of order. We can't vote on an amendment until there was an actual motion on the table to be amended.
The-
How you called
Uh,
it.
I had made the motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Correct.
So the motion was already on the table.
To move the motion as amended. Okay, so the amendment failed. So therefore, I don't believe we are voting on. Oh, I'm sorry. So to accept the minutes as amended. However, the amendment failed. Therefore, the motion then would be for the motion to be for the minutes to be accepted as presented.
Which Councillor Hall had already put on the floor prior to making his amendment, so. You can't look for a new person to make the motion when
But
the
that,
amendment fails.
the motion that he was putting forth was part of an amendment if it passed. That amendment failed. Do I have that incorrect? CAO back? If he said if he would pass the motion if the amendment passed. So because it didn't pass.
It's my recollection, and we'd have to go back and see that after Councillor Hall had indicated his motion to amend, he then said, I'd also like to make a motion to adopt the minutes.
As amended. That's what I heard.
I can't recall the exact
Right.
wording. Councillor Hall made the motion if he can recall what he had said.
It was whatever is easier, you can to move them as amended or whatever makes this simpler and moves on. We don't need to spend all day on this technical stuff.
Correct. So if the motion now, if, as you had said, it was subject to the amendment, so my understanding now is as presented. Would you like to own the motion, Councillor Hall, as presented, or should we give that motion to Councillor Gerlach?
It can't be withdrawn without unanimous consent. Let's just own it and move on.
All right. So if Councillor Gerlach would like to approve the minutes as presented, all those, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and opposed?
Nay.
1, 2, 3. 5 and 3. Thank you. All righty, we are approximately 6-7 minutes away from our delegation at 5.1. So I think we can go forward and look at 6.1, which is on page 40 of your agenda package, and that is CC 25-239 fire invoice appeal. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Counselor Anderson, thank you.
Thank you. I'll move the recommended motion. I just
Thank-
had a question through the chair to administration.
Please go
while we're on
ahead.
the
Thank you.
topic. The admin report references that we send out a lump sum invoice to proponents, hoping that it'll start the dialogue, so that they'll come in and engage with administration to learn more about the details. And I'm just wondering, do insurance companies usually accept the lump sum invoice, or do they require an itemized invoice for submitting to the insurance company? 'Cause I know one of the things we had noted during the delegation was that they had not submitted it to insurance yet, and I'm just kind of wondering, do insurance companies usually accept the lump sum invoice, or do they require an itemized one?
I believe it depends on each insurance company.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other questions or discussions? Alrighty, Counselor Anderson would like to move that council uphold the invoice as provided. If we're ready for the vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
7 and opposed, 1, that would be 7 and 1. Thank you. And I think if we could, we've got 4 minutes before our delegation. Item 7.1, page 46 of your agenda. The recommendation here is to direct administration to forward road closure bylaw 007-2025 to the Minister of Transportation for approval. Counselor Anderson,
So moved.
so moved. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if we're ready for the vote on the motion from Counselor Anderson to direct administration to forward road closure bylaw 007-2025 to the Minister of Transportation for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I see no opposed, so that would be 8 and 0. Thank you. And I think if we just take a 3-minute recess to have everyone settled in at our desks here before we start a delegation at 10. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Welcome back. We are at 5.1 of our agenda package, which is at our delegation. We will be hearing from Alta Link Management for the wildfire mitigation program. And we will start with introductions. We'll start on my left.
Excuse me. Good morning, Camille Wallach, Division 9.
Sorry.
Kelly Johnson, Division 7, Atmore, Prospeda areas.
Good morning, Ashton Anderson. I reside in Division 3.
Morning. Rob Men's, Division 8, Baptist Lake Island Lake area.
Good morning, Joe Gerlach, Rochester Perryville area in the deep south.
Go
Good
ahead on
morning.
to,
Brian Hall, Division 4.
and go ahead, Gary.
And good morning, Gary Cromwell, Division 6, far north up to and including the Wandering River area. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, and good morning and welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm Tracy Holland, Reeve of Athabasca County, as well as Counselor for Division 5, which is east of Athabasca. We also have with us Mr. Jordan Schenkelberg, Communications Manager, our Recording Secretary, Miss Leah Blair, our CAO, Mr. Beck, and I'm not sure if we have some, I'm sure me with the public.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I-
probably just
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Oh,
the-
welcome.
the Distribution side.
Fantastic. Thank you and welcome. And please go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Sure. My name's Colin Harvey. I'm the Municipal and Community Relations Manager with AltaLink. And with me, I have Brian Kelly on my left here. He's our Emergency Response Program Manager. And Brendan Pan, who's our Wildfire System Operations Engineer. So thank you very much for having us. Yeah, and I invited Dora LaRue here as well from Fortis, just because, as Dora said, we do work very integrated as a utility group on the transmission distribution side. So she's here to kind of provide support from the distribution side if needed. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And please go ahead.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks again for having us. So I'll just start really briefly, just a little bit of an introduction on who AltaLink is. So we are Alberta's largest transmission provider. So we're actually Canada's only transmission provider. Most transmission companies own a distribution side or the generation side. We only own our transmission assets. We were created in 2002 when TransAlta sold their regulated portions of their business. So AltaLink bought the transmission side and Fortis Alberta bought their distribution side. So our service territory there is in the dark blue. So we have over 13,000 kilometers of transmission lines across the province, 300 substations within our service territory. And we're obviously in the more heavily populated areas of the province. So we serve the majority of Albertans, and we were purchased back in 2014 by Berkshire Hathaway Energy. So this diagram here just shows the flow of power in Alberta, just to show where AltaLink fits into the picture. So I'll just go over it briefly. Just so starting on the left, we have the generators in the province. So in the province here, that's generally your gas, wind, solar, and hydro. As they produce their power, they push it up onto the transmission system, and that's where AltaLink comes in. So we only own the transmission assets. We don't actually own the power that flows down the line, and we operate our transmission lines at the higher voltages. So anywhere right now between 69 kilovolts up to 500 kilovolts or 500,000 volts. And so our job is to get the power from the generators to wherever that electricity is needed. So we move that across the province. Once it'll hit our substation, at that point, we step the power down and we move that over onto the distribution side, which in our service territory is Fortis. And so Fortis is the company that actually physically connects your homes and businesses and farms and actually brings the power right to your doorstep. And then in between there, you have your retailers. So your Direct Energies or your EPCORs who would actually be selling you the power themselves. So that's kind of where AltaLink fits in. And so, just moving on to what we're here to talk about, which is our wildfire mitigation program. So wildfires are obviously becoming a lot more significant and severe on the landscape. So in the last couple of years here, we've seen over 2,200 fires reported. In that 2023 fire campaign, that was our largest restoration effort. So a lot of our transmission lines got burned in those as well. And so we had to invest a fair bit of money to be able to get those transmission infrastructure back up. And according to the province, less than 10% of fires are started by electrical infrastructure. However, we fully acknowledge that that risk remains and we take that very seriously. So AltaLink's had a wildfire mitigation program since 2019. We're a industry leader in that way as well across Canada. And we've just continued to enhance and improve those efforts over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And this diagram here does a really good job of summarizing all the components that we do as part of our wildfire mitigation program. So I'll start on the bottom left and I'll kind of work my way around and just talk about each one briefly on what we're doing. So in the bottom left, we have our fire threat mapping. So we've worked with a third-party fire consultant who's actually mapped our entire system across the province, and have identified areas that would be high-risk fire areas, meaning that if the transmission infrastructure did create a fire, that there's potential for significant consequence with that fire. And so we use that to help guide some of our decision-making in our wildfire program. From there, we have the facility wildfire risk mitigation program. So what we're doing there is we're essentially hardening our assets is what it's called. So we're taking off old insulators, which are those string cone shaped strings that hang down and hold the wires. We're removing old ones of those, putting new ones on. And in places where we would have wood cross arms in those high risk fire areas, we're removing those and replacing those with steel or fiberglass, again, taking away that potential ignition point. And we're working through that over these years. So we also have enhanced situational awareness. So up to last year, we added 17 new weather stations across our system. We've installed cameras in certain areas to be able to get real-time information. We also work with a third-party wildfire expert who sends us a daily report, giving us wildfire information updates every day in terms of the fire weather that we're seeing and where there's more significant issues potentially occurring. That helps drive some of our operational practices that I'll get into here too. Last year too, we also did our expanding preparedness as well. Part of that was we reached out to all the municipalities in our service territory, asked them for their emergency response contact information so that we could better align our contact outreaches with those folks. So we've done that. Also through that program, Brian's position was created as that emergency response program manager, so that AltaLink has a one-stop shop for emergency response as well. So, and that's where Brian fits in. So we also have incremental operational practices. So in those high-risk fire areas, we've increased our inspections. So that's also from a vegetation standpoint, making sure the vegetation is cleared and in the best possible situation. We've also increased our asset inspections in there as well. So we actually just completed some spring surveys in terms of flying our lines, having a look at. We did identify some issues on those, and our crews have been out to fix fix those deficiencies that we saw in those spring surveys. In the extreme fire days too, so this is another operational step we take. So at our substations, we have these pieces of equipment called auto reclosers. And so when a fault happens on a line and you might see your lights flicker for half of a second, those auto reclosers are trying to re-energize that line right away so that we don't lose service. What we do in these extreme fire risk days is we actually turn those off so that if the line trips and faults, we have to send a crew out to actually inspect the line to make sure that there's nothing that would create a spark or anything like that on the line before we re-energize it. So that's another step we're taking as well. And then we have our last step here, which is the public safety power shutoff. And this is our last resort. And so what the public safety power shutoff is when we hit certain thresholds, which I'll get into in terms of weather conditions out there in our service territory, we may look to proactively turn off the transmission line in those areas so that if our line did create a spark or an ignition point, we've essentially been able to remove that from the equation, basically. So it is a last resort. We are a power company. We take a lot of pride in keeping the power on and making sure everybody has power. So it's not something we want to do, but it is a step we feel is a good step to take when we are in a situation where the communities are more at risk. And so not one feature triggers a public safety power shut off. And these are kind of what we're looking at when we're assessing whether we are going to do a public safety power shut off. So the first four, I would say, are part of what we would call our forecasted public safety power shut off. So those are as we see the weather conditions getting worse, the wind conditions changing, the humidity getting low, maybe the vegetation's really dry. We haven't had any rain in a long time, real-time conditions. Those are where we would forecast and possibly move into a public safety power shut off as we see those conditions worsening. The last one is a reactive public safety power shut off. So if a fire ignites in the vicinity of our existing line, we may also look to turn the power off so that we don't further the spread of that fire by anything that may fall in or hit any of our lines. So it's another preventive measure. We actually just did that down in the Redwater area with the fire down in Sturgeon County. That fire was actually, some of our structures got singed in that one, but we did turn that one off as well during that event. Oh, sorry. Oh, that's good. Oh, hang on. Wait, there we go. This one, yeah. So this is just shows the full picture of how we kind of trend through a public safety power shut off. So starting on the left, we're monitoring the conditions. As those conditions begin to start to get close to our thresholds, we instigate our PSPS watch, which just heightens our internal operations. As those thresholds are confirmed, we move into a PSPS protocols and we begin to start to get ready to de-energize those lines, which moves us into that communication protocol. So we'll be notifying the communities that may be impacted by that. We're also definitely working with Fortis at that time as well, probably even before that, to make sure that they're aligned with us and that everyone knows what's happening right up to when we turn the power off. The power stays off then until we see those weather thresholds reduce. And at that point, we'd start to look at energizing the line. The trick is, because the line's been de-energized, we can't just turn it right back on. We do need to get out there and go monitor that line because we have no data to tell us whether that line's damaged in any way. So it could take an hour, it could take a few days. And especially if we notice damage on the line, we'll have to get crews out there to fix it. So we always tell people to be prepared for 72 hours. If it's shorter, great. It may be longer than 72 hours, but be prepared for 72 hours in those events. To the point where we turn the power back on and then we go back to monitoring the conditions. So this shows our communication process when we're going up to a forecasted PSPS. So this is really an ideal situation when we can see this trending. Obviously, dealing with weather conditions and fire weather, we may or may not be able to hit all these steps in perfect unison, but this is a best case scenario. So right now, what we do have is we have a weekly email we send out to municipalities that kind of tells whether we're trending towards a PSPS or not, and any updates there, so people can see it trending as we're moving. Once we start moving into a PSPS 7 days out, that's where we'll be notifying the DEMs in the area and any other emergency folks that need to, so that they can start preparing. 2 to 4 days out, that's where we start to let the elected officials know, as well as elected officials and our critical customers. 2 to 4 days out, that's where we would start looking at having the public know. In that time, we'd also be instigating our moving forward with our incident command structure, working with the municipalities and their information officers to make sure everyone's getting the right information to distribute as needed during that time as well. Right up to the day we turn it off. Again, those public notifications and information officers will be updated regularly up to the point when we want to re-energize the line. And same thing, we'll be letting people know how that's trending, what ideally we're looking at from a re-energization standpoint, and continue with those updates so people can be prepared. So this map here just shows Athabasca County and the transmission lines we have in the county. So the blue lines there are our transmission lines, and then the boxes are our substations. And so we do have a high risk fire area identified here in the county, and it's largely near the Boyle area. So in the bottom left there, you see what we're looking at from a PSPS conditions consideration. So what we're looking at is when the fire weather index hits over 60 and we get wind gusts over 60, that's where we would start looking at doing a PSPS. We've kind of looked at some of the historical fire data that we haven't hit both those thresholds in a while. So I'm sure we've been over 60 at times on the fire weather index, or we might be over 60 on wind gusts, but not the two considerations together. So again, we're hoping the likelihood of having a PSPS is low, but it is definitely a potential out there as we monitor. And this I just put this in just to show a bit of a snapshot of some of the information we get from a real-time perspective. This shows, so what this shows is the red dot shows a fire that's happened near one of our lines. And this is some of the information we get from our third-party fire expert that shows us the direction of spread and all those colors kind of around the fire there. What that's showing is connectivity of fuel. So we use this information to help guide whether we should or shouldn't be turning off the line. So in that Boyle situation, we were monitoring that fire. We have those lines that go through Boyle. We were monitoring those lines to see if we should shut them off. We never did, but we were being very diligent and making keeping a tab on that fire as it was active there. So. And so the other thing we've been doing, and we started this in March here, is doing a targeted community outreach. So in the Athabasca County area, we've been doing a lot of social media. So on Facebook, Instagram. So these are some of the placards we have out there just to let the people know, the community know that we have a fire mitigation plan. It talks about our public safety power shut off a little bit and where they can go to our website to get some more information to try and get the message out there as much as possible. And then last, this is just to kind of help. So with Brian and I, we kind of have crossover with interactions with the counties. So in my role is to be the touch point with council and administration to AltaLink. So if you have any questions, general inquiries, I'm your person to contact. If we're getting into emergency response planning, coordination, tabletop exercises, that kind of information, Brian's our guy for that, and he's our touch point for that. So just to help highlight that. And then that's our presentation. So we'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. It's great information and thank you so much as well for sharing it as much as you can across all those channels, because it's one of those things that people always ask about. And of course, as wildfires hit, was our power shut off? And the damage that comes with that in homes, freezers and fridges, etc. So really appreciate all you've done as well for Boyle as well. Does council have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. And thank you for our reliable power service here in Alberta. I know I like to bug my sister in Saskatchewan quite frequently about their frequent power outages. I did want to talk about wildfires and the repairs to your system. So if there is a wildfire and it damages your system, how do you go about repairing? Like, is there government funding for that? Do you just have to shuffle around your maintenance budget? How does that work?
So that part, so the Alberta Utilities Commission is the one who approves our operating budget. So if we have to get in there and make those emergency repairs, that gets put into our rate base essentially, and the commission approves that. So we justify why we had to do that. So it comes through the province. It does come through from the ratepayers' perspective. Yeah.
No follow-up? All right. Does anyone else have any? Go ahead, Councillor Jamsek.
I'm sorry, I missed it. When you were talking about the 17 cameras placed along Alberta, correct? Are any of them placed in and around Athabasca County?
Sorry, those were the weather stations.
Just the
The
weather
cameras
stations.
we've tested most of those. I think those are mostly in the Bow Valley corridor. So they're mostly in the Bow Valley. Yeah, we're expanding it across there, but that's where we've started. So where's our 17 stations? Do you know?
They're kind of scattered.
Scattered?
Yeah,
Yeah.
scattered. And the idea is we use a lot of the data from the.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so we use weather stations. So we have weather stations across the province, just from the government. The additional weather stations that we're installing is just to get a better picture of having a weather station closer to our asset, because conditions change and sometimes the closest weather station from our asset is like 50 kilometers away. So just to get a better understanding, a more granular look on the weather system near our asset, we've chose strategic locations to add additional weather stations to give us more data on the weather information. And as we see the need to fill in more data and more gaps, we'll do those analysis and make investments accordingly. So,
Do you know if we installed any up here?
Sure.
We might have
Yeah.
to get back to you to see if we installed any of them specifically.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Gerlach, do you have a question?
Yeah, you said less than 10% of wildfires are associated with power transmission.
In Alberta,
In Alberta.
in Alberta. Yeah.
So kind of what,
That was Alberta data. Yeah, I don't want to speak globally,
so
so.
what were the sources of that? Because actually 10% is a fairly high number.
Right. So, yeah, sure, you go for it.
You know, there's a lot of different variants that might cause electrical fires from transmission lines. I'll give you an example. Insulators, as you see coming down off structures, are really designed to have rain, for example, wash them off because there's contamination that builds up through the wintertime. So a lot of our potential ignition is caused by contamination that builds up over those insulators over the winter. And before we get those nice rains like we've somehow got in some parts of Alberta yesterday, it washes that off. And when that doesn't occur, then that tracking starts to occur, comes across those insulators and then up onto those wooden cross arms and tracks across that to the pole. And it doesn't happen in all cases, but it does happen occasionally. And we've had 2 examples, I think, in the last couple of weeks where that's happened, where the tracking goes across the cross arms, creates a bit of a fire on that cross arm and puts that structure at risk. And potentially if that piece of equipment comes down to the ground, that's where we see some of those fires occurring from. So, you know, we rely on the natural environment to try to do some of the things we've designed it for, but occasionally that does happen, or those insulators break down over time. And that's why you see some of that replacement where we're going in with different types of technology on those insulators to get that. So we're not relying on rain, for example, in a very dry environment to clean that off. So it's a combination of things like that. I don't know if that helps at all, but there's different examples. Lightning, for example, would cause fires. And there's the natural environment that causes some of that. And then other times when we have extreme winds that knock our transmission lines over, you know, that lands onto the ground, and until that line gets turned off through the normal process, there is that potential for sparks. So it's kind of examples like that that cause transmission fires.
thank you.
May I follow up with that?
Sure.
I guess, I'm just curious, when you're talking about drone capabilities and stuff like that, is that just a visual check or is that with thermal capabilities and stuff as well? Or a combination of both?
Sure. I'll back up with helicopter. That's typically what we use most cases. So as we just said, we just went through our spring review of the entire transmission line, and that's a visual inspection at about 40 kilometers an hour by air. So, you know, there's transmission line specialists doing that are very highly skilled at doing that, but they do miss things, right? So the only time that we typically run a drone in that I'm aware of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is really specialized areas that we want to have a good look at something. And then is there infrared on those drones?
We have. So we do also utilize like LiDAR technology where gives us like when we're especially in the high risk fire areas, kind of I wish we have kind of like a screen capture of like one of the examples, but it essentially looks at the vegetation. We have a right of way for our lines, and it essentially builds up a model seeing like, oh, there's like a tree branch kind of leaning too much inward. We should get someone to send out to get those trees, right? But we have 13,000 kilometers of lines, and it's a large service area. So we make sure in the high risk fire areas, we do at least twice like per year for those areas. But again, like it's always kind of like a balance. Like if money wasn't an issue, we'll do like 50 times a year or something, right? But like it's always a balancing act. So
For sure, and we really appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Mins.
I guess I'm wondering, like you were saying that you're changing out these arms and insulators and stuff like that throughout Alberta in the high risk areas. Projected how like where are you sitting at for now, like if you got 10% of the areas done and when do you see that all the areas would be finished? I guess the plan of going through, like,
There's. So. We do have a specialized like product management team that, gets the data from the field. And then we kind of rank them based on, we're gonna identify deficiencies all the time, right? Like part of our line is gonna be 50, 60 years old. We have newer builds are probably 10 years old, so we're less concerned about those. And as we identify deficiencies, we start prioritizing them, like kind of in-house. We have like as Colin alluded to earlier, we have like a finite budget, right? Like we can't just do everything at one go and change everything to the best. So then we have to kind of rank the deficiencies as they come in. So the priorities would be the things that are failing immediately, like what Brian was saying, like if the cross arm was already on fire and it was in danger of collapsing already. So those definitely get prioritized. The things that and then after that would be like high risk areas. We're kind of proactively changing those out. And then we follow by the traditional kind of maintenance schedule maintenance. Now, in the event, I'll add one thing is that in the event where, certain lines, we will love to do them, let's say in 2025, but we just don't have the budget or the man hour to get those lines done. We are taking the proactive approach of disabling the reclosers that Colin has mentioned on those lines, so that just minimize that risk of like having a fault and something failing and then just causing a secondary fire. So we are taking also operational approaches to limit the possibility of igniting a fire and not just relying on asset hardening. So there's a very systematic and like leveled approach of I guess working through the list that we get. So hope that answers your question.
Awesome, thank you. I see Councillor Cromwell's gone from the screen, but Councillor Hall, did you have any questions?
I will put my hand up when I do.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Looks like everybody has their questions fully answered. And again, thank you so much for being here and sharing this information with us and obviously to the public. So more who understand what's happening out there, the better. And we really do appreciate all that you do to keep everyone as safe as they possibly can. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having
Thank you.
us. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. We'll just take a couple minute recess, please. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We are at 5.2 of our agenda, which is our delegation for Protect DNA. And we have our Athabasca RCMP members here with us. We'll just go through, I think everybody knows everybody, but we'll just go through and do introductions anyway. And we'll start here with Councillor Mintz.
Rob Mins, Division 8, Baptist Lake, Island Lake area.
Morning, Joe Gerlach. Good
Good morning, Camille Wallach, Division 9.
Kelly Chamblick, Grassland, Atmore, Prospita area.
Morning, Ashton Anderson, Division 3, Chasm Boyle area.
Thank you. And I know we had Councillor Hall, he's still here, Councillor Hall, Division 4.
Hello.
We also, go ahead. Oh, I think he said hello there. We have Mr. Jordan Schenkelberg with us as well for communications manager, and we have Miss Leah Blair as our recording secretary. You know, Mr. C.O. Beck, who just left the room, and I'm Tracy Holland, which is counselor of Division 5 and also Reba of Athabasca County. Please go ahead.
Morning, everybody. Staff Sergeant Mark Hall, Detachment Commander. I'm going to let Sergeant Berge here take the lead on this one here. He's put a lot of work into the project here, and I'll let him start.
Hi, everyone. Gavin Berge, the Operations NCO at Athabasca Detachment. So it's a short slide. There's only 6 slides, and then we can have a discussion, and it basically covers how everything works and how we think it can be a benefit to the residents of Athabasca County. So Protect DNA is a company of the United States. They've created this system. It's a forensic property marking system with microdot technology. So there's tiny microscopic nickel plated dots, and each dot has a unique PIN number or letters that is attached to that package. There's over 10,000 law enforcement agencies in the United States that are currently using this system. And basically it enables an owner of property to mark their property without it being seen by the general public, and only the person who marked the property knows where the marking is. So each kit has an applicator with almost like a ketchup packet of like a glue-like substance that's almost impossible to get off. They dab it onto their belongings. So say, for example, you know, this farmer's been victim of property crime before, so he goes out to his shop, he has his chainsaws, he has his side-by-side, any other tools or equipment, and he takes the applicator, he dabs it onto each piece, he takes a photo with his phone or marks it down, and then there's a database that covers the entirety of North America, and he uploads the item and his serial number to the database, and there's an app that comes with it. And then we have this ability to view the property through a blacklight filter, and we can see those microscopic dots and tie that PIN number back to that owner. The database can be searched across any agency that has access to Protect DNA. And so vehicles have VIN numbers, but as we have seen here in December, VIN numbers get scratched off. So if the user applies it to their side-by-side, you know, on the frame, and then that gets stolen, and we find the side-by-side and the VIN number scratched off, we can see that Protect DNA has been used and tie that back to the owner to prove that it's stolen property. So just like I said, it helps us identify owners even if serial numbers are removed. It's searchable by law enforcement. And importantly, it allows us to lay charges because we can prove that that property has been obtained by crime, which is a big issue. We'll do a search warrant on a rural property. We'll recover a bunch of stuff, tools. Usually it's tools, chainsaws, weed eaters, things like that. We know they're stolen. Well, we can't prove they're stolen. So we can't lay a charge on that. But with Protect DNA, with that unique serial number, we use our scanner, go into the database. This item belongs to this person. It was stolen on this date from this property. Now the person who we found it with gets charged with property obtained by possession of property obtained by crime. So several Canadian agencies have started integrating Protect DNA. The only one I know of in Alberta right now is with Buffalo. and they're also just rolling it out. A 50 kit pilot test would allow us to sort of gauge reaction and how it would work from the residents of the county. The kits are low cost, simple to deploy. So we're looking to distribute 50 Protect DNA kits in our community. How I think we would roll this out is we would have them available for pickup either here at the council office or at the detachment. We would do a marketing strategy where we explain this via social media, via the county social media page and the RCMP social media page. Hey, this is the program we're rolling out. It's going to help deter rural crime, rural theft, break-in enters. And then we'll gauge and see if there's opportunity to expand. If the kits go like wildfire, then we would look to get more and roll them out. And then I would manage the database from the Athabasca side via our systems and monitor who in the county has things registered with Protect DNA. So the total cost for 50 kits is $839.40 Canadian. That's the law enforcement price. I've been working with Sean from Protect DNA out of Florida, and he's been extremely helpful with all my questions and their success rates, and then their convictions in court in the States, which the States has a different court system, obviously, but the same things apply to us with regards to proving that the items are stolen, proving they're in possession of the person who has the stolen items. And each kit, each little ketchup packet can label 60 to 75 items, depending how much each person puts on their equipment or how much equipment they have. So that's it. It's a short slideshow. Basically, we think that this is a really good option because we have, in my time between my postings in Fort McMurray, Boyle, Athabasca, and Edmonton, the biggest issue we see is we do a search warrant, we have all this intel, we do all the work, we do the search warrant, we recover a vehicle that's stolen, but we know that there's 50, 60, 70 things on this property that we know are stolen, that this person doesn't own. It could be golf clubs, it could be a skill saw, it could be anything like that, and these things add up, and we end up just having to either destroy these things or sometimes return them to the person we did the search warrant on, which essentially we're giving the stolen property back because we can't prove that it's stolen. So it's just another option to really expand our ability to lay charges with regards to rural break-in enters and property crime. I think it would be a real hit here in Athabasca County, just given the temperature of rural property crime in Alberta right now. And a lot of issues we see are people with seasonal lots, lake lots, either a Calling Lake or an Island Lake, Baptiste Lake, or in Boyle's area, Skeleton in that area. You know, they break into a shed, they steal your mower. Well, if you've already marked that the year before when you were there and you have it on your app, you call the police, you say, these are the items I'm missing. Here's my Protect DNA ID. We look it up in our database. Okay, yeah, we mark those items on our database as stolen. A year goes by, 2 years, we do a search warrant on another rural property. Oh, look, here's all these items that are stolen. They get returned to the owner and that person gets charged. So it's just a really ingenious system that I'm pretty excited that we found thanks to Tracy. And then doing my research, I think it's really invaluable. And the States is way further ahead than Canada right now, but have had good success.
That's absolutely awesome. No, thank you for sharing this information. I think it's a really neat forensic way of being able to not only help yourselves, but help the public as well. So I think there's a few questions, Councillor Chamzak and then Councillor Mins, please.
I have the first question. It's great because I'm everything but an iPhone user. Do you know if it's compatible with Android as well?
It is only compatible with iPhone right now. They're hoping to have it compatible with Android by the end of 2025.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And if not, I can use one of my children's device to.
Yeah.
I think as well, though, the database is available through laptop computer as well. So you're able to still do the registering and all of those things right through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's
Thank you
still
for
capable.
that clarity.
I guess, yeah, that's a great idea. How many, items could you mark with a kit, do you think?
I was told by Protect DNA 60 to 75 is the average
Oh,
for
that's pretty good.
one kit.
yeah.
And that
And
can
then
be
if-
anything from your spade shovel in your garage to your vehicle.
Okay, and then the other thing is so yeah, you could get more than one kit if you wanted,
Yeah.
like if. Not,
Yeah.
okay,
If you had a whole bunch of items where you wanted to mark everything, you could, and you could upload it all into the database.
oh, perfect, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And I believe the public can go ahead and order kits online as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
If you know, if you happen to bring in those 50 and they're gone, there would be definitely an opportunity to go ahead and purchase another one on your own. Does anyone else have any? Go ahead, Councillor Crowell.
So it's used as something to identify things, not to trace. Doesn't help you in tracing missing
So
items.
it is used to identify. Protect DNA has a tracking system as well. It's, I don't have enough information about it to say that it would work here, just given our cell phone service issues. And it works well for them in the United States. But I mean, I don't know how well it would work, and it's something I need to research. And Sean from Protect DNA, he also didn't know yet. So it's something we're digging into, but it's almost like an Apple AirTag. So you can double mark the belongings, especially the big ones like off-highway vehicles and things like that, right? Generators, you can put the tracker, and it covers that in the brochure as well, the tracking system. I just don't know if it's gonna work well enough here with the cell phone, with the service issues, that it would be useful, or if it would be just an extra cost that we don't get results from.
So if you come across a power saw or whatever, and you think it might be stolen, how do you go about
So
identifying or?
the police, we get a special filter for our phones and a black light. And then we can actually see the PIN number with the use of the black light and the filter on the item.
But you'd have to know where it has been applied.
Yeah, so we could search in our database too. We could narrow it down to chainsaws. Or eventually, I'd like to see all of Alberta use this, because as we know, criminals don't know borders. But if a chainsaw, for your example, gets stolen in Drayton Valley and recovered up here, well, I can go into the database and narrow it down to just chainsaws, just the make and model of chainsaw. And then it's like, okay, there's 30. Okay, well, you know, there might be pictures attached that the user has uploaded into the database. Well, now I can go through the pictures. Oh, this looks like the chainsaw. Here's where the Protect DNA is. Scan it. Yep, this is the one that was stolen in Drayton Valley.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you through the chair. You mentioned having to use a black light and a filter on your phone to be able to identify it. So this isn't something that could be seen by the naked eye
No.
at all. So it's not like thieves would be grinding it off or even trying to buff it off because they wouldn't even know it's there.
No, yeah, the nickel plated pieces or the engraved nickel plated microscopic pieces are not visible to the naked eye, and the adhesive is clear.
That's incredible. Thank you.
And a lot of bad guys don't know about this, and so you know, they might think but they're not going to be able to see it. They won't know and they're not going to think about, oh, yeah, we can't steal this. It has Protect DNA, you know, unless it has a sticker on it, like a side-by-side. And in the years to come, maybe I would love to spearhead a successful conviction on this, and the bad guys know, then they're like, ooh, you know, we got to be careful.
Right, a deterrent is always good. The one question that I had, of course, is the maintenance of the items, an owner's items within the database, and that owner decides maybe they're selling their items. Is it education for them as well to make sure that they upload that information? Because I can see that causing a bit of.
Yeah, it
an
would be
issue.
education for them, but like we deal with now, I don't foresee that everyone is going to do that. But same as vehicles right now, right? We can still identify a stolen vehicle if it's been transferred to numerous owners. We just encountered that with the file we had across the river in December, where some of those pieces of property had been through 2, 3, 4 owners. So we're just calling back down the line, and then would be the same thing if we identified an item via Protect DNA. We would call that owner, he would say, oh, I sold that 2 years ago to my brother-in-law or to this guy, and we call that guy, oh yeah, no, that was stolen from my shed. Still can prove that it was stolen.
Absolutely. No, thank you very much. Does anyone else have any further comments, questions? Awesome. I so appreciate the time that you've taken to dig into this and really look into it. I thought it was a really neat idea as well. And I think it's something that is, I think will be very popular, especially like you mentioned in our rural areas where people are struggling with those types of things, and it to be a deterrent when it gets out there and then people are understanding what it does. A deterrent is always a good thing as well. I guess if no one else has any further questions, is there?
In the back of the brochure, there's a QR code. If you scan it with your phone, we've done a feedback survey. So, on your own time, you can provide us some feedback, and we'd like to know what you all think about the program too. And you can do it anonymously if you'd like, and just to help us to roll this out better, because eventually I'd like to push it further than just Athabasca County and get some real results, and we can all celebrate the day that there's a conviction in court.
That's
via the use of
amazing.
Protect DNA.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys being here today and taking the time out and helping us battle real crime as any way we can. So thank you so very much for being here. And we'll just take another quick recess while we say our goodbyes, and this will be coming back later on for us to discuss later on in our agenda. So I'll let you know what happens there as well. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. I believe we are at 7.2 of our agenda, which is page 53. Yep, 53. And this is the land use bylaw amendment, bylaw 013-2025. The recommendation here is to give first reading of bylaw 013-2025 land use bylaw amendment for block D, plan 403 ET within Southwest 156522, west of the 4th, from light industrial district to Hamlet residential district, and to direct administration to schedule and advertise the public hearing on June 10, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. for bylaw 013-2025. Would administration like to, as recommended, Councillor Chamzek would like to go ahead with that first reading. Welcome, Councillor Capitania. No worries. We're on page 53, if that's helpful for you. Is there any discussion with regards to this item? I don't believe so. Oh, there we go. Councillor Hall.
I'm just hoping before we get first reading that administration can confirm that the improvements on this site would meet the land use classification they're proposing to change it to. Like, would this be a permitted use? Would the existing developments be a permitted use?
Yes, the building would be a permitted use.
Okay, is that satisfactory? Alrighty. I don't believe there are any other questions, no further discussion. All right, Councillor Chamzek would like to give first reading of bylaw 013-2025 and to direct administration to schedule and advertise the public hearing on June 10, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. I believe if we're all ready for the first reading, all those in favor?
Aye.
And I don't believe there are any opposed, so that would be 8-0. That covers the direct administration to schedule, does it not? Or do we need a separate motion? No, we're good to go. Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so the next item we have is 8.4, page 70 of your agenda, which is the Protect DNA discussion, the delegation that we just had. And I'm wondering if council, it's a lot of information to take in, if council might be interested in having this come back for committee of the whole discussion. Just to maybe consider donation or maybe consider sponsoring kits or any of those types of things, just for further conversation, or we can do that here. Councillor Hall.
I'd like to move the recommended motion.
To receive this presentation for information.
Yes, please.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Councillor Chamzek.
I wouldn't mind seeing this advertised in some capacity. Maybe perhaps through our social media or whatever.
Okay, would that be, go ahead, Councillor Wall.
I think we should just wait till the RCMP come to us with something before we get ahead of them on this project. So yeah,
okay.
I think let them take the lead on this.
Is there interest? Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thanks. Yeah, I think once the RCMP get that kit of 50, or if they're ordering or something, and our admin team, CPOs want to work with them and get more to distribute it through the county office, I'd be in favor of that. But I think at this point, we should let them continue taking the lead on it.
Okay.
Sounds like Corporal Berkey? Sergeant Berkey is doing a fantastic job and really excited about it. So I think he should get a lot of the credit there too. So.
Awesome. Alrighty, if there's no further discussion, Councillor Hall would like to receive the presentation for information. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I don't see any opposed, so that would be 8-0. Alrighty. We are moving on to 9.1, which is the meeting calendars on page 71 of your agenda. Here we go. All right, does anybody want to begin? Okay, I will begin. On May 14th, we have the Athabasca Landing Trail project site visit. And on the 15th, just in case anybody was wondering, at 4 p.m., it's the Regional Collaboration Committee meeting. And on June 20th, June 20th, the Trails North Tour will be postponed somewhere into the fall, leaving September. Does anyone else have any additions, deletions, clarification? Just I'm having a look. Go ahead. Oh, Councillor Hall, thank you.
I'm wondering if we would consider moving council to the 22nd. I believe in the past, we've moved meetings when more than one councillor is going to be away on council related business, and because we have multiple councillors gone to FCM, I'm thinking it might be wise for us to move that meeting.
Okay. There conversations? Conversation on that one? Okay, I guess administration should also be consulted as well, being that, 13th is today. We'd be looking at another meeting in less than 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 days of business days. Is that something that?
Yeah, Madam Chair, that the 22nd might be a challenge.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you. And we don't have Director Wilkinson here as well for the MPC meeting. Does anybody, I think this is going to, go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
I'm not really in support of changing it to the 22nd. I think that's too tight, a COW meeting and a council meeting that week, but I would be in favor of just canceling that county council meeting for the 29th, being that we'd have COW the week before, we'd give administration a little bit of extra time to work, and then we have a council meeting coming up again on the 10th. I think seeing how much we have on our agenda today, I don't think it'd be unreasonable to, well, just cancel it.
I would think that the wildfire probably halted a bit of administrative work as well. Do we have any delegations that we know of booked for the 29th?
We have one which we'd have to reach out and reschedule.
Okay, all right. Councillor Mins, you're.
I think, I don't know if I'm really in favor of canceling it or really moving it. We have 9 councillors around the table and there's only gonna be 2 gone to the FCM conference, so I think just leaving it on the 29th will be fine. I don't want to move it into June, because that's just another load up in June. I think just leaving it. There's only 2 councillors. If we had 4 or 5 that we're gonna be gone, we'd look at that like if it was an RMA or something like that. But just with 2 councillors going, I don't think we need to move it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? I think we're going to end up splitting this question by the sounds of it.
I'll add that I feel like I mean, I can't give you dates and names, but I feel like we have moved meetings around before when 2 councillors have been away on council related business. And I think it's a demonstration of goodwill to adjust the date of the meeting. And like a colleague has said, the agenda has been pretty light. The last few agendas, I don't think I think admin could use the break to get some work done, and we can go to a little bit longer meeting in June, would be my feeling.
Thank you. I'll just weigh in here as well, being that we're coming into the home stretch of our term. We've got 5 months and very few meetings as July and August are one meeting a month. So with this one, 2 in June, 3, 4, maybe we have maybe 7 or 8 meetings left, maybe 9 tops. That I think it's important that we continue going forward. I'm not in favor of canceling at this time, just because of the fact that we are coming into that home stretch and we are running out of time to get out those few things that I think we're trying to accomplish to get done. So I think on this one, unless there's further discussion, we'll start with a motion to, I guess it was to cancel, Counselor Hall, to cancel the May 29th meeting. Is that satisfactory as a motion that you'd like to put forward?
I don't think I made that. I think that came from someone else.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Came from someone else? Counselor Anderson, thank you. Okay, so on the motion that Counselor Anderson has made to cancel the May 29th regular county council meeting. We'll start with that. If there's no further discussion, all those, go ahead. Yeah.
And I'm sure she can have last word then. I would appreciate it just on the premise that there will be things that will likely be coming up in regards to Division 2. I will make my best effort to see where we're at with FCM if this doesn't pass and try, but with the time zone change and the schedule there, I don't want to feel like I'm being stonewalled from being able to be part of a conversation that's part of my division while trying to execute being at a conference that has cost a lot of time and money. So for that reason alone, I would, if anything, just try to defer any topics that I would like to be a part of, but I don't know if we could do that here.
Sure. I definitely think that that's fair.
That would be the only reason.
Yeah.
So thanks.
I definitely think that that's fair. Yeah. Nope, I think that's fair for sure. Is there any further comments or questions, discussion? Okay, so all those in favor of canceling the May 29th, 2025, 9:30 a.m. County Council meeting? All those in favor? 1, 2,
Aye.
4. And all those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're at a deadlock, which the motion fails. We have 2 amendments to the calendar, 3 amendments to the calendar. Is there someone who would like to pass the calendar as amended? Counselor Mins would like to go ahead and pass this calendar as amended. If everybody's ready for the vote, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, and opposed?
Nay.
1, 2, 3, 4, and that fails. We'll just ignore this calendar. I have a question. With the calendar not being passed, we just carry on with our regular schedule. We don't have to, for none of this.
Correct. It's for information purposes, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to confirm. Alrighty, at 10 after 11, just about, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we are moving on to reports. Double check everything here. Yep. Reports. 11.1 I just wanted to give a quick verbal. I did send out an email to everyone yesterday, but just wanted to make sure that everyone's had a chance to be able to ask questions. The Alberta TrailNet has put forward a grant a couple of years ago now, and they had an extension on it. And it's for the active transportation grant that they received. And what that's for is the planning and design of a section of the Athabasca Landing Trail. As we all know, the Athabasca Landing Trail is still under development. And so this area is between Manook and Perryvale that is being looked at. They do have a project manager and consultant that has been selected to go through the area. There's partial road area as well as partial wilderness, about 2.5 miles of wilderness. That wilderness section is the original Athabasca Landing Trail Road Plan 1909T. And there is a 1/2 mile that is through private property, but there is a caveat in place for this type of work to have that. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to go through, they're going to look at all of that type of topography. They're going to check everything out. They're going to put through a planning report, a design report, and that will be coming to council later this fall. But if there's anybody who has, go ahead, please, Councillor Chamzak.
Unfortunately, we had conflicting meetings yesterday, so this is where the site visit comes in on the 14th.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, so anybody who would like to, councillors, if you'd like to join, you're more than welcome, of course. It is about a 4.5 kilometer walk that will be taking place, so get your steps in. And it's actually through a very beautiful, well-groomed section of the trail, as the residents in the area are they look after that section of the trail very well. It's mowed and it's just a beautiful area. All right, so that was just for information. If we can move forward then to Councillor Hall for 11.1V, as in Victor, the Greater North Foundation.
As you know, my reports on the foundation tend to come in writing, but given the recent evacuation of Boyle, I just wanted to bring council's attention to the and complement the proactive actions of the Greater North Administration as they moved the Wild Rose Villa residents to alternate accommodations during the Boyle evacuation, and the coordination and work with Alberta Health Services, who also works at that site.
Thank you. And did we have, I think that was it. Nope, we have Councillor Wallach, you brought forward the 11.1 AD, the Regional Healthcare Recruitment and Retention Committee.
Yeah, I was just hoping to get a update from the member on the events that are happening in this past month and the upcoming month, so.
Okay, and being the member is not available, maybe an email can be sent to him to request the information we're looking for.
I'll just say it anyways, in regards to your email that you sent out about celebrating the healthcare teams, they are doing the annual barbecue on May 29th at the riverfront. So just so everybody's aware.
Awesome. That's fantastic. It's always really great that we are able to get out there and recognize our healthcare workers and celebrate them through barbecue. So thank you all very much for putting that together, and I'm looking forward to it as well. So I believe that concludes. Oh, one more quick thing with regards to reports, actually. For anybody who's done conferences lately, just remember the due date for your reports as well on those. I believe it's 45 days from your last. Yeah, so just looking for those reports as well. We'd all love to hear how your conferences went. So that would be amazing. And I think, again, I think we've come to the end of our regular agenda. We're going to be going into closed. Is there a motion to go into closed? Councillor Minns would like to put a motion forward to go into close, please, at 11:13. We're good to go. Thank you very much. We've come out of closed session and we have a few motions to make before we adjourn our meeting today. Closed session item 13.1. Councillor Gerlach would like to move the recommended motion that council direct administration to proceed with option 1 as discussed in closed session. With no further discussion, are all those in favor?
Aye.
That is 7. We have 7 and 0. Thank you. Item 13.2. Councillor Hall would like to move the recommended motion that council agree to enter into the agreement for provision of locum housing in the village of Boyle. Any further discussion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
7-0, thank you. Item 13.3. Counselor Gerlach would like to move the recommended motion that county council direct that no payment will be required from ARMS for years prior to 2025, in which the multiplex may have been undercharged for insurance premiums by Athabasca County. There's no further discussion. We'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's 7-0, thank you. Item 13.4. Counselor Chamzik would like to move the recommended motion that council indicate no concerns with the proposed foreign ownership referral as presented in closed session. There's no further discussion. All those in favor? And opposed?
Nay.
6-1, passes, thank you. Item 13.5, Counselor Mins would like to move the recommended motion that in accordance with section 3.15 of bylaw 008/2023, council agree to the creation of a new finance department to be titled by the Chief Administrative Officer, and that the creation of a director of the department to be titled by the Chief Administrative Officer, and that the new position be placed on level B of the county salary wage grid. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, 7-0. And the last item, I believe, is 13.6A. And Counselor Mins would like to move the recommended motion that council direct administration to refer the draft Summer Village Fire Services Agreement to the Summer Village Chief Administrative Officers in draft form to remain confidential at this time. No further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that is 7-0. We are complete. And thank you very much, folks. We will adjourn the meeting at 12:26.